Hello. I'm Dominic Waddles.
And I'm Mark Rosenblatt.
And this is the MDetroit podcast. MDetroit is a podcast where we interview artists of Detroit. We discuss their lives, art, and many other topics. In doing this, we hope to create a platform for artists to share their wonderful work.
This week on the podcast, we have the great drummer Sean Dobbins. And it was such a pleasure having this conversation with Sean. He's such a cheerful guy. He was smiling the whole time. Literally. I was so enamored by his stories about growing up and stuff that he talks about. Dom, why don't you tell us a little bit about what we talk about in the podcast?
Oh, I would love to. Let me tell you, this podcast, we started off talking about his position at Indiana and just slowly went through his experiences with the greats. If you ever look at his bio, which you will see, he plays with literally everybody that you would love to play with. And it is just so wonderful to hear. We were just sitting there in front of the computer, just gawing. So, sit back, relax, come to our table, and enjoy this podcast with Sean Dobbins. So, welcome to the MDetroit podcast. We're really thankful to have you on the show. And we're really grateful to have you on the show. You have touched so many people just on the podcast alone. Just asking people, they have mentioned your name so many times. So you're such a wonderful man. Man. I still remember the first time I saw you, and I didn't know who you were, but it was when you did the David Berger Duke Ellington Sacred Concert. Woo! You should have seen this man. Like, he was popping off the seat. I was like, man, that guy's going in. He must really like music. Because I was still young.
Sure, man.
But
I think Duke Ellington sparks an emotional chord with anybody. That music still sparks a chord with anybody, you know.
Right. Well, so what we're going to do first is we're going to read you your bio. And after that, you're going to tell us what you would change or what you would keep or, what you would do with it.
Okay.
All right. So first, starting off. Sean Dobbins is a jazz drummer who got his start as sought-after Detroit area jazz sideman at a young age, when he would regularly play with Blue Note artist Lewis Smith. As Sean's career progressed, he found himself the recipient of many awards and accolades, including the Woody Herman Jazz Award, an award for outstanding musicianship, as well as the Louis Armstrong Scholarship. Due to Sean's great talent, both as a player and an educator, he has been the focus in countless news articles, jazz radio programs, and documentaries. Though still young by jazz standards, Dobbins has amassed an impressive list of playing companions. He has performed, toured, recorded with Johnny Bassett, Benny Golson, Donnie Smith, Frank Morgan, Joey DeFrancesco, George Cables, James Blood Ulmer, Marcus Belgrave, Larry Willis, Rodney Whitaker, Claude Black, Johnny O'Neill, Paul Keller, Tad Weed, Kurt Kroenke, John Hendricks, David Fathead Newman, Donald Walden, Cyrus Chestnut, Barry Harris, David Baker, Randy Johnston, Marion Hayden, Moss Allison, and hosts of other great musicians. Sean has a lot of irons in the fire. He works regularly with the quintet, the Modern Jazz Messengers, and the Sean Dobbins Organ Quartet, and makes music for the new Mack Avenue Records imprint, the Detroit Music Factory. When he isn't playing in the clubs or in the studio, Sean is on faculty at the University of Michigan, Oakland University, and Wayne State University. He has served as the artistic director of jazz ensembles for the Detroit Symphony Orchestra and currently the executive artistic director of the Southeastern Music Academy. So I know some of that is some some old information too.
Yeah, better change young by. So yeah, better change that. And you could just say I'm currently associate professor at Indiana University now. How you?
Nice.
How you?
The first time I saw you play, Sean, was I think it was at a jury. And you mentioned like not young, but I'm telling you, like when I was there and I saw you, you come in, you're wearing like a nice suit and stuff, and you sit down, I'm just like, man, are they having like students play on the juries?
What a good experience for this.
And I was like, wow, he's really good. I have to get his name. And then like I found out that you're Sean Dobbins, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that was always the funny thing, because you would get, like, if you didn't see professors, man, they'd look at you. Like,
yeah,
the way you would, as they were colleagues, they would look at you like, man, hold on,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was a long time ago, and now there's some grays creeping up now, so
that's okay. Well, anyways, is there anything else that you would add or change to your bio?
Let me see. Oh, let me see. You mentioned Lonnie Smith. You could add Sonny Fortune on the list.
Wow.
Sonny Fortune. And man, I'm trying to remember some stuff. Oh, I forgot. You can. I ran the youth jazz program for Michigan State for 7 years.
Nice. That's
Put
great.
that in there if you want to. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's cool, man.
All right.
Oh man. So how are you liking your new position at Indiana?
I love it, man. I absolutely love the job, love the faculty, I love the students. It's been a lot of fun, man. Like, it doesn't, you go to work and it doesn't feel like long days, but like, you guys know as musicians, long days is part of like what we do. Like, there's
Right.
whatever. I mean, like, getting done at 3 or 4 o'clock that's not how our life is. Like, it's supposed to be, you wake up at 9 and you go until 9 or 10 at night. That's just like that's our life. If you're in school or if you got bands you're in, whatever, gigs, rehearsals, practice, that's just how our life is. And that's just what we do. But it's fun because, like, I can be in there in my office for 12 hours and it does not feel like I worked a minute. It's just fun. And that's
good.
Right. And that's just how I feel like the music should be. It just should be fun. It should be enjoyable. And we're still learning. We're still working hard. But, just to see, like, watch the hunger of the students who just come there and they just really want to play and they want to get better. And, if you say, hey man, we're not, we may not rehearse this day, they're looking at you like, why can't we rehearse? I want to rehearse. It's like,
right.
It's that mentality. I think with all the great institutions that I work with, it's always, this is more of the same. But I think what's inspiring for professors or, anyone in education is when you almost have to keep up with your students. And I think that's what will inspire us. When your students, are chomping at the heels, like, man, I need another transcription. I already learned this one, or I need this. And and they're just going hard. And I think the intensity of students makes education that much more fun.
Mm.
So I love it. And I love trying to just keep them in there. Trying to keep up with them, with them young cats, man, and how hungry they are and the music that they're listening to and everything, and just trying to keep up. That's what it's been inspiring. So I'm literally learning from them, and as I hope they're learning from me. So it's enjoyable.
Yeah. You obviously have experience being at like faculty at other universities. You were director at Oakland University, and you were faculty at U of M and Wayne State. Can you talk a little bit about how that stuff has like not necessarily prepared you, but like, you know, given things that like you're taking with you to Indiana?
Well, I think, you know, just the Detroit scene alone, the history, there's an intense history, music history in Detroit.
Right.
When you get on a stage, there's just an intensity to swing, intensity to play, intensity to know the music. There's even an intensity by our patrons here in Detroit that like they want the music and they want the music played correctly. So there's a daily intense. We're going hard every day, and every moment, every lesson, every rehearsal, every concert, everything counts. There's nothing to be taken for granted, and that's one of the things that I learned being here, and still, you know, still residing in Detroit. But that's one thing that I've taken away with this. And the other thing is it's kind of more of the same that was taught to me. And you know, the first thing that I was taught is never be a teacher, always be an educator and a mentor. And you know, always be a part of your students' lives. Never think of them as they're just a lesson. You come in, you get through the lesson, and you move forward. Care about them as people. I was taught if you build the person, the musician will come. And so, you know, and that's kind of the and being like trying to be as you know, I think as you get older, you start to carry your own philosophies and stuff like that, but still trying to maintain a lot of openness to new things, especially in this pandemic. We had to change the way we were teaching.
Right.
We had to somewhat become, you know, which I think is a good thing. We had to learn more about areas of even like mental health and start to understand that more, where there'd be days when a student comes in and you would talk to them and they're like, man, it's getting tough. And, you know, hey, I'm just trying to keep up with my assignments and this and that. You know, there's another intensity to that now. And you have to kind of change to really think and say, it's not just about your school life. Like, how are you doing? Because that's what's going. How are you doing? Is it, you know, are you away from your family? Are you spending time with your friends? It's you know, for us as artists, man, it's depressing in a lot of ways when we can't be on the bandstand and sharing what we do. And it's not just about this month, like, oh man, I got to get paid and all that. We all have to make a living, but we realize the communication and the community aspect and the support that we need from the jazz patrons. So I miss them, and I miss our regular life, as much as they miss coming to hear live music, because we actually need them. So, you know, the long of this answer is that I've really brought the community aspect with me from Detroit to Indiana. That's the intensity and also love for my students. And like as soon as you sign up, it's like you're a member of my family. So I call my
Oh, that's so beautiful.
As you got and sign up, man, I'm like, we're family, and no matter what, as long as you're there and you there, I'm gonna love you forever. That's it. It's like you're my student, and you can call me. I have students that are like, you know, I can't believe I'm saying this, but they're like in their 30s with their own families and doing their own thing. And some of them pursued music and some of them didn't. But, you know, knowing that you were a part of building the person which was far more important to me, that you just built it. Sometimes it's like you just built a really good spouse and a good worker and a good provider for their family, and you through those things. And so, you know, you never take that stuff for granted. So it's like when I came to Indiana, and when we were speaking about position, I was put all cards on the table that's what I'm about. If I'm teaching at Indiana University or at of a music store, like that's just how you're supposed to teach, in my opinion. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. This is who you are, and you're supposed to be who you are no matter where you're at. So those things have come with it. So far, so good. It's been great. Been really connecting with the students. And I just got a chance to play a small recording session with two of our faculty members, Greg Ward and Christian Dillingham, who are outstanding musicians, man. They are just outstanding. And I couldn't believe how great, you know, I knew they were great players, but playing with them was quite an experience, you know. I don't know if you ever heard Greg Ward play. He's an alto player from Chicago. And
I would definitely check him out now.
Greg is one of those players that can make music. He like listens so hard. He can make music out of your mistakes. He just makes people better. I was checking him out, and he knows how to make he knows how to make music out of anything. So even if you drop a beat, he gonna do something to make that sound slick. So Christian's a swing. So Christian Dillingham is one of those people that's like, man, when like you can feel your whole room starts moving in quarter notes when he walked down the hall. Like he just gotta, it's like as soon as you walk down the hall, man, it's just there's a groove, man, and all of a sudden he come on. All right, this makes sense. But it's been really good, and I am thankful for everything that I learned with all of my experiences in Michigan, because I don't think that I'd be where I'm at without those experiences, and so I'm really thankful for that. Long answer, sorry, but I'm a professor. That's what we do.
Well, just to touch back on your bio a little bit, we picked just a couple people, but we wanted to hear some great experiences that you had playing with the greats such as Benny Golson, Joey DeFrancesco, in today's time, Barry Harris, and even Frank Morgan or Dr. Lonnie Smith.
Dr. Lonnie. Well, I'll start with Lonnie. Lonnie was one of the most intense experiences I've ever had. I got a call and from John, who was the former owner at Baker's, and said, we're bringing in the doctor, and I want to know if you can do it. I'm going to get Perry Hughes, and I'm going to put you on drums. And so I said, oh yeah, that'd be an honor. And so that's when that record, I think it was 2004. Too Damn Hot just came out. That record he was on, or that he had just recorded. And so I went and I said, let me just grab his record. Now I want to remind you guys, this was pre-Spotify and all of that stuff. You actually went to stores during that time. You actually
YouTube.
Yeah,
YouTube. Yeah, exactly.
Had to go to God's World or something.
I mean, you went to Borders bookstore and got out of your house. You parked your car. You drove. You parked your car. Different back then, right? So I drove to the stores, went to find his record, came home and practiced that record like mad, and just tried to get as much stuff in them. And there was a certain spirit that one thing I'm happy for is that they did not send me charts, because charts does not give that music justice. You cannot write down what he's doing. Technically you can write it down, but the spirit of which he plays with cannot be written. There's another plane that he's on, and where he's hearing the music. So I just learned the record much as I can, and felt pretty okay at the gig. Well, I arrived to the gig, and I am not easily intimidated at all. We all grew up in this area. We've seen it, and I mean that by we've seen probably about everything. Right? So you're not. You can when I say that, I mean like you expect anything. Nothing's going to throw you off.
Yeah.
I looked at him, man, and he got on the stage, and he had this outfit on, this long white beard, and like a turban, and I was like, ooh. To get in here, man, because and not bad, but it's just like the look on his face of it. There's this intense grit about his face, about the music that he's about to get to, and you can listen to the record, but you don't really experience kind of his aura thing until you're like right in his face, man. And it was just like, it's like powerful. You're there, you're like, oh man. He didn't speak to me at all before the set. He didn't ask a question. He didn't say, hey man, what tunes do you feel comfortable with? Did you check out my record? Nothing. They were like, ladies and gentlemen, the Dr. Lonnie Smith Trio, 1, 2, and started playing everything from his record. And it was like, pow. And we got through about halfway through the set, and Lonnie looked over and says, man, what's your name? He hasn't known.
No.
And so I said, I'm Sean Dobbins. He said, okay, ladies and gentlemen, great Perry Hughes. Him and Perry Hughes have a long history. young drummer over here, Mr. Sean Dobbins. We played a little bit more. I never forget. He looked on the microphone and he got on the microphone. He looked over at me. He said, "You got a one-way ticket." And man, I was like, "What?" And he said this on the mic in front of everybody. He was like, "You got a one." And I didn't know what that meant. And here's a scary dude looking like, just the way his vibe was like, "You got this. You got a one-way ticket, man." And so, and he said, and he looked at the audience and said, "This boy's got a one-way ticket and he don't even know it yet." And so I was like thrown off. So then in my mindset, I said, "I don't know what that means, but now I'm going full out because if nothing else, I leave with dignity." No matter the law, like they say, I went down standing up. So I was like, let's go. Like, forget it. I'm going full bore now. Let's go. And he came over after the set and he said, "You got a one-way ticket." And then he walked off again. So I went. Now Gerard Gibbs happened to be in the audience with the great Gerard Gibbs, my good friend, great organist. Gerard Gibbs had me on. And I said, "Gerard, man, this dude keep telling me I got a one-way ticket, man. What do I do?" And Gerard said, "You got a one-way ticket to hell." Gerard, this dude saying to me, "Man, do I need to pack up?" What's going on? Like, he said, "Nah, man." He says, "That means you ain't going nowhere. You're with him now." He said, "That's what that means." He said, "You got a one-way ticket. You're gonna be with him. That's it." And so it was like his way of saying, like, we're together. We've reached this plane together, and you ain't going nowhere else. That's it. I got you, and we gonna do this. So Gerard was nice enough to explain that to me, man, because I was freaking out for a minute. I'm like, "Man, what's this about?" But that's like one of my
right.
That's why I say you can't tell nobody. You got to qualify that. So you can't just leave that out there. But no, it was cool, man, because the story about that is I like share with my students. It was just about, I mean, to me, it was just like opportunity. When opportunity meets preparation. That's an old term, but man, I was thankful for all those hours of learning that record. And I was like, and it wasn't about me. I was just thankful that it was put in the seeds were put into me about, with Lewis Smith and all my Claude Black, Clifford Murphy, all of my mentors. That was about preparation, being ready for the moment, trying your best to be ready. And when that happened, man, and I was ready, it was the best feeling. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was about. It was not about, I mean, man, come on, we're in Detroit. There are some monster drummers out here. So for anybody, you know what I'm saying? There's some real, I mean, and then they keep multiplying too. Every time you look, there's somebody else popping out. You know what I mean? So it wasn't about, I don't think it turns into, talent, ability, but after a while, that kind of goes by the wayside. And now it's just about your preparation and dedication. And that's what I learned from that gig is like, always make that your number one goal is to be prepared. Be ready. You don't know what at the end of an email or a phone call or a text at any moment. So are you living ready? And I think that's like that's that intensity that kind of confirmed like, hey, we got to practice a little harder. We got to recognize our weak points. We got to deal with our weak points. We can't brush them under the table because you don't know what you're going to get called for tomorrow.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
That's probably my, and there's stories with all of them, but that was my biggest story because that story there, like I was thankful for my mentors on that story because it was like, if it wasn't for them being on my case about this, what would I have done? And that's when I really was like, man, I'm so thankful for my mentors today. And I called, and I was really thankful for them because they're like, man, you don't know what's going to happen, man. You're going to play with these high level cats. You got to be ready and you got to do this. And, so that was I have a ton of stories, especially playing with Johnny O'Neill. He was one of my biggest inspirations, man, on the bandstand. Johnny once told me that I need to swing like a choir walking down in church.
That is so funny. Like, they sure do. All right now.
Johnny was, we were about to get to play, and he says, Sean, what I want you to do is, how the choir start up at the top and they walk their way down? And he said, and they got like an attitude when they look and they turn their shoulder and don't want to look. Right. Oh, no. When we get in that grind, I want to hear that attitude. The way he thought about music, man, you love playing with him because he's like, it was all the spirit with him, man. You know, he's from the church. He was like, Johnny was another one, man. He'd come and you see him play, man, and Johnny look, he have his shoulder cocked and he over there swinging and he playing. And that was where he was seeing. It's like he was picturing that. So that's what he told me. He said, you look like those sisters coming down the aisle, man. In that groove right here, that's how you should sound. Made perfect sense, don't it?
No.
It ain't about no subdivisions and none of that. It's about, this is the spirit we want right here. Right. So yeah, that was the Lonnie Smith was probably one of my best ones.
Nice. Cool. So we're going to move on to another section a little bit away from the bio, but you've been a part of the Detroit music scene for quite a while. And we're wondering if you can talk a little bit about like your thoughts on the scene and like, you know, general things about it that you take away. I know you mentioned like the intensity that is in the scene, but is there anything else that you can say?
Well, I think the first thing is that, you know, the Detroit scene is not, it doesn't always like, it's not just about its tradition. It's also in performance. There's a tradition of education that's spanned back for years. So if you want to learn how to play this music, if you're serious, this is a great place to be. You know, first of all, you got the clubs that you can go out and hear music, but you have excellent, well-experienced educators and mentors. And I think the mentorship out here is really intense. Is because today's mentors were raised by actual mentors. And so it's kind of a different thing. And, you know, and so you're going to get somebody. I mean, there's stories, I'll be honest with you. There's stories, and I'm not going to put their names out there, of great veterans now that know that there's students who can't afford lessons and will just say, just come to my house every week so I can get you some lessons. You know what I mean? And, right. You know, and that you can't see that you don't see that at every scene, but some people are like, hey, just be at my house such and such time, you know, and we'll go as far as to say, you know what, I know this person, if they can't afford lessons, they might need a meal too. I'm gonna get you a little meal going too, you know, and make you some dinner, and we're gonna have lessons. We're gonna listen to some music, and I'm gonna teach you, and then we're gonna go from there. So there's like an authentic love and an authentic desire to pass the torch that is real. And, you know, and it's evident in what you see, the product that's coming out from generation to generation, you know, and you can see that. And the way the people are playing, like there's not always a ton of resources all the time, but I think what makes this community special is that doesn't always matter. It's like, we make it happen. And if students want to play in the youth ensemble and they don't have the resources, we're going to make it happen. If they don't have a car to get there, we make it happen.
Right.
You know, so I think that's what's special about it, is that this is a great place to just be raised, musically raised. And I just think raised from a cultural standpoint, everything. Like, this is a great place to grow up and learn about appreciating the tradition and the history of Detroit, for that matter. So that's one of the biggest takeaways. And I mean, and there's just some monster musicians out here, and you feel, you know, you just feel honored that you're like amongst this great network of people. That's what I think it's more about. And at the end of the day, it's like, man, to say that there's this really special community, and for someone, even to this day, for someone to say, you know, man, there's this community of musicians that are really doing it. And for someone to put your name in there, that's the biggest honor, to say, man, you're a part of that. That's huge. You're a part of something special and important and positive. That's like the biggest payday ever, man. You know, so that's what I value, that in the Detroit scene, and the opportunity and the way it's been a springboard. Well, I was playing on a jazz cruise with Johnny O'Neill, and Johnny told me before the cruise, he said, Sean, you're going to play in front of a real audience. Like, he said, this audience, he said, they're going to listen to you and know exactly I said, serious? He said, Sean, you can't fool these people, man. You have your together. You can't fool these people. And it's just like Detroit, not you go ahead and do it if you want to try, but it's not going to work out for you. You got to have it together. So I get out there and we play like our first set, and there were some musicians. There were some musicians that were like listening. Johnny's a big mainstay on that cruise, so of course they're gonna come hear Johnny O'Neill. And
Right.
so Johnny got a different drummer with him. Let's go check out the drummer. And practically everyone came over to me was like, "Hey man, yeah, how you doing? What's your name?" And that, and we connected. He was like, "Man, you from Detroit area, man?" It wasn't like no bio or nothing like that. And I said, "Well, yeah, Detroit area, man. That's I learned a lot of music." He said, "Man, yeah, because we know y'all beat, man. Like soon as y'all come," he said, that beat, that Motown beat, man. We know that a mile away, man. Is that where you from?" I said, "Yeah, man." He said, we know that for a fact, man. As soon as we see you, that's it. We knew it. So it was just like being a part of that representation is just crucial, and being able to say that you're that people recognize you as a part is a part. It's, to me, it's just so real special.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we know you've been talking about a lot of great moments that have impacted your life. Are there some moments that have, like, these were defining moments for you? Like, these are things that are like, this solidified you in the music, this solidified you in your career. What are some defining moments for you?
Oh man. So I tell this story all the time. I tell this to my students. Now, first thing I'm going to tell you, if you want to teach students success, or teach them, if you want to teach them success or lessons, teach them lessons, give them your success.
Right.
If you want to teach them wisdom, share your failures. So you cannot hide them. You gotta give them the real, right?
Yeah.
One of my biggest ones is when I first started playing with the Murphys in Toledo, Ohio, and that was truly that was like my main, like, that was college for me. I mean, I went to school and but that was college in my opinion. And Claude was a great Detroit bebop pianist, and he was of the generation of Barry Harris, Tommy Flanagan, and all those guys.
Right.
And he was, Dominic, ask your dad about Claude. He'll tell you all about him.
Okay.
Claude was the truth, man. Claude was the truth. And so Claude, we were playing, and I went down to audition for the gig, and I was just like, they had this opening, and a singer, Ramona Collins actually recommended that they call me. She actually hooked me up, and I went down and I auditioned for the gig, and Claude was a man of very few words, and he just looked over at me after the audition. He says, "Okay, yeah, they'll probably be calling you," and he just walked away from me. He didn't say nothing. I was like, "Oh, all right, man, cool, whatever." I don't know. Maybe it didn't go so well. So I got a call later in the week that said, from the club owner, her name was Joan, and she says, "Well, you had the audition, and we have this opening, and we didn't want an established drummer. We wanted a drummer that we can mold into what we want. So we wanted to basically create our own drummer."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they do. And so they said, "And we're going to choose you to do that with." I was like, "All right, I'm being chosen to, I'm like, all right, I like the, I'm the Mr. Together however way they want to, right? That's it." So I was like, "All right." I said, "Well, this is what I'll do. I'll be like, I'm ready to rehearse. I'd rather do whatever I got to do." And they're like, "No, just show up." They said, "Show up to the gig." So I came that weekend, and I was on the gig. I played a couple weeks, and Claude came over to me, and he says, man, let me talk to you for a minute." And I said, "Yeah." And at this time, I was playing a 22-inch bass drum. I had no idea what I was doing. 22-inch bass drum. Some sad cymbals that sounded like a 72 Chevy hubcap. And it was like it wasn't together. And it was just all... you guys, y'all mentioned like the time. Man, I didn't... that wasn't together at that point in life. So he came over to me after the gig. He said, Sean, and when he was getting irritated, he would stutter a little bit. He said, Sean, let me talk to you a little bit. And I said, all right, Mr. Black, what can I say? You know, what's happening? You got it together. And I said, what's on? He said, man, just everything. And I was like, well, what's happening? He said, man, you got that old giant bass drum over there. And then he said, you hit that thing so hard one time, I got scared and I thought somebody was shooting at me. So I was going to run under the piano. I didn't know what to think. He said, and then he said, you don't know anything. He said, you just don't know anything. And then he said, and he pointed to my clothes. And he said, and then look at you.
No, not the look at yourself. Just look at yourself.
Listen, let me tell you something, man. You know your gear is wrong when the finger goes up and down. It's one thing if they look at your pants and say, man, okay, all right, my shirt cool. No, it was nothing. He just did the whole everything, shoes, laces, everything is just.
Oh my God. Oh.
He said, now if you take the way you dress and put that with the way you play, I am embarrassed to say. And he said it just like that.
Oh man.
Ooh.
And at that time, they had different singers had none of the singers had like a written arrangement, but they all had arrangements. And nobody had charts, and they all had these well-rehearsed arrangements, and I knew nothing. So I was just that night. I went home. I drove home, and I said that was the most. And you know, sometimes you can't say that to students nowadays. Again, education has changed, which is fine. But I just said, man, that was the most inspiring moment because and I just remember saying that to myself. I am about to really start playing, and I'm about to get really good, and I'm about to really work hard. And that didn't stop me. That just fueled some fire in me. And so he went. So I would do a thing after every set. I kept running up to him and saying, "How was that? Was that better? Was that a good solo? How did I do?" And so he was getting irritated. So he went to the band leader, Cliff Murphy, and said, "Man, tell him to stop talking to me after the sets." Let him know. Tell him just to stop talking. So Clifford was like the good cop out of both of them. Like he was the way that like made it like he kind of softened the blow of everything. So Clifford says, "Hey man, you know, Claude's can try to relax a little bit, man. You know, between them sets, you don't have to worry so much about asking him too much stuff. Just, you know, man, just come over and hang out with me, man." And so Clifford was actually like he was kind of like the more he kind of broke things to you in an easier way. And when he talked to you, so I would stay up under him and just get like the softer approach of what I needed to do. Mm-hmm. And when I go over here, man, maybe play that cymbal. You know, hey, man, you should think about. And it was like the softer approach, but it wasn't like that. So it was like, it was just like that's what it was. And so, I kept going to Claude. Still, I was like, I don't care. I got to know how I'm doing. So I would still ask some questions. So one time I was butchering the arrangements, like butchering them. And I just could not get them together because we didn't rehearse. So I said, Claude, man, listen. I said, Claudius, look, man, do me for, and I kept calling him, I called him Claudius. So I was like, Claudius. Oh, no. I just did it to mess with him. And listen, if you come with me, I'm coming back at you. So he used to call me, because or meathead, because I had, like, my head was is like, I have a big head. So he said, get over here, meathead.
No. Oh my gosh.
Be time to play, like, get up on them drums, meathead. There would be times we'd be playing and he said, man, I was looking on this thing and I saw the back of your head and I knew it was you. I know who that was. That's that old meathead. So So I went to Claude one time. Claudius, man, look, do me a favor, man. He said, what's up? I said, can we get a rehearsal together? Because I'm butchering the music, and I know I am at this point. Like, you can't tell me different. I already know I don't know the music. So let's get together and rehearse. He looked back at me, and he said, man, why do I got to rehearse? I know the music, and walked off.
No.
That's how you were taught back then. It was not, it was different because what he said, see, he said everything without saying it. What he said was, and this was before phones recording, and this was before all that stuff. You got to remember, do what you got to do to learn in the professional world. You're a pro now. I'm not going to walk you through this stuff. Figure it out. And that's what, and get your ear together. So that's what got my ear together, where he started saying, and they had a cue. If they didn't think you were like Claude would play, and if they didn't think you were listening enough, they had their own little cues. They do like this, and they go play, and they go just like that. And it was so slight that you knew they were talking to you, but they didn't make it obvious on stage. So Cliff would be playing bass, and Cliff would go, and he would pedal for a minute and do just like this, and then go right back. That meant listen a little bit better. You're not catching everything. So after that, man, that's when I just started getting in hard on my ear, really, and it was mostly vocalists. So I really started checking out vocalist recordings, and I really started digging deep into listening better on the bandstand. And my goal was to catch everything I possibly could on the stage. I made that a big thing. Like, I'm going to catch everything, and I'm not going to. And so I started being able to like learn arrangements. Like they play something, and all of a sudden it was bad, then not so bad, then okay, then better, then it's getting better, and then all of a sudden it's like, man, I'm hearing these arrangements a mile away. And so it's when you really had to. One thing that was good is that you can go home, and this is why like I value like those radio stations. The time I got WEMU out here, and you could turn on WEMU, and what you did to learn to get your ear together, you just play along to whatever's on the radio and see what you can catch, and you're not in control of what comes on next. That's why those were important, because you just had to accept. You can't rewind, you can't fast forward, you just got to accept what's going on. So that's how I practice sometimes. Get my ear, and I learned a lot of tunes doing it that way. Wow. So it got better. It took somebody to just drop the hammer at me. You're playing sad, figure out, and not and inspire me to do it, but not baby me through it either. He didn't baby me. There was no babying at all. It was like, you can do it. We think you can do it, and we'll give you some hints, but you are going to have to put the work in. We're not doing that for you. And if you want to be in this band, you're going to put the work in. And so I'm thankful for them for that.
Kind of switching gears, we want to talk to you a little bit about education, since you are such a great educator and mentor to so many people in the Detroit community, and obviously outside of that as well. And can you talk a little bit about how you got started teaching and like what drew you towards it?
What made me think about it was actually my first teacher himself. His name was Eric Alexius. He was my first teacher, and I was 6 years old when I started taking lessons. And Eric, man, it was right at the time that my parents had split up. And Eric kind of was interesting because he came in when there was this void that needed to be filled. And so Eric came in at 6 years old, and he would come to my house every week, and he would give me drum lessons. He told my mother, she said, what started it was I was banging on like stuff all the time, we had bar stools in our house, and I was banging on everything. And my mom went and talked to one of her friends and said, I think my son is suffering from these really bad anger problems. Like, I think there's something going on with him, and he's hitting everything, and I'm really concerned. And she said, well, tell me more. And she says, no. She says, Deborah, you have a drummer. She said, my son did the same thing. He's a drummer. So she said, take the number of my drum teacher of our teacher and call him. So Eric came to our house. He said, I'll give you 3 lessons. I don't take 6-year-olds, but I'll give you 3 lessons. And if I think you can hang, then we'll still keep doing lessons. And, after the 3rd lesson, he said, we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep having lessons. But what made it so special was that after the lesson, or like if we had a lesson on a Saturday, Eric would be like, he always called me pal. So he'd be like, hey pal. He would take me out, he'd get in the car and he'd take me to go fly model airplanes.
That's so cool.
He would take me out we'd go to lunch, we'd go hang out. He didn't have a son. And so there was a void there that we were both kind of filling at that time. And so in our conversations, he was talking to me about life. He was just teaching me life in general. And he didn't have to do that. My mother could not afford my mom didn't say, here, take $20 if you take him to lunch. She didn't have it. He did it because he cared. Or take him out here in case he wants something. He just did it because he cared. And later on down the line, I then got with Lewis Smith, who Lewis Smith kind of came in and filled another role. And Lewis Smith used to call me his musical son. And yeah, he was deep. He called me his musical son. And you go look up Lewis Smith, and he was with Horace Silver and all these cats. And my biggest one with Lewis Smith is I didn't understand. Man, the closest I ever saw money, this was a funny thing, the closest I ever saw money was Thurston Howell on Gilligan's Island, who wore the ascot. Mm-hmm. So I was like, that's it. Like, I was like, oh, rich people have those funny ties. And so I knew nothing, man. I wasn't brought up around money. I didn't understand it. So I went to Lewis. He wore an ascot. He taught in middle school, but was he dressed to the nines every day. One day he decided to have a shirt and an ascot. He was dressed. And I walked over to him and I was like, Mr. Smith. He's like, yeah. And he called me Bubba. He was like, yeah, Bubba, what you want? I was like, are you rich? And he was like, why you say that? I said, because you're wearing that funny tie today. He's like, why you say that? I said, because that dude on Gilligan's Island's wearing them ties just like that. He's rich. And he went and told the faculty, man, he was screaming. He's like, he couldn't believe that. So we were just laughing. We had like a connect. And I would go into his office on lunch and during lunch hours, and he would just talk to me about playing. I mean, man, I'm 7th grade, and he's talking to me about playing with Art Blakey. Come on, man. Dizzy Gillespie, like trading with Dizzy Gillespie. And I mean, he's just, I had this record with Cannonball and all. And I'm like, I wasn't ready to understand it at that time, but I knew something special. And so, man, I didn't even know what an album was. He used to put a picture of his albums up. And I used to say, man, why you got all those funny pictures up there? And he said, those are LPs. I was like, oh, really? I didn't know. Those are, he's like, I was like, you got all them pictures, man. Why you have that up there? So, later on, he kind of embraced me, and he was like, he told my mother, he said, I'm going to stick with this boy the rest of the way. Don't worry about him. And she told him, she says, she told him, and that was, again, during a different time. She said, if my son acts out, you do whatever you have to do to put him in. And she said, and I will back you up. She said, do whatever you have to do. So he wore these rings over all his fingers. He had gold rings, man. I think he didn't wear one on his thumb. That was it. But he had all these rings. And if he thought I was acting bad in class, he would put his fist up and show me all them rings just like this. And, man, I would straighten up so quick. I'd be like, now, he wasn't going to do nothing, but I didn't know that. So he come to me, and even if he had to tell me I'm doing something wrong, at the end of the rehearsal, his way of teaching was, I want to build you to be great, not break you down because you can't. I want to build you so you can, not break you down because you can't. And I took that from him. And it was like he would always be building. His way of teaching you was to build you up. I want to lift you up. Hey, man, with all that, the way he would say it is, with all that talent you got, you should be doing this. Not, man, you can't do that. It was a different way of teaching. And I saw him inspire and get kids to play at levels that I know that if it wasn't for him and the way he was teaching them, they weren't going to get there. But he had that power of really pulling the best out of people. So it was that instance, and then he was my middle school teacher, and he followed me over to Pioneer High School. And I was like in the library, and I was one of them. Like, if y'all can't tell now, I laugh a lot. So he kids in the library that always thought something was funny just because I was in the library. And, you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be quiet. And because you're supposed to be quiet, now everything's funny.
Right.
And start doing this. Look, you can't help. Just one of the kids. That's why I have so much empathy for the kids now, man. I was one of them. I know nobody means any harm. They're just being silly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, the librarian was like, she's like, he said his name was Mr. Piper, and I owe him big, because he said, Sean, if you were on a football team, I would go talk to your coach. But since you're in music, I'm going downstairs to talk to your band teachers. I was like, oh man, why do we got to take it there? So I went into this room, and my Lewis Smith was there, and also my other band director, Mr. Albritton, who's actually one of Mr. Smith's former students. He looked, and he says, man, we heard you can't control yourself in the library. And I admitted to it. I said, look, man, it was just, I'm with my friends. It's funny, and I'm sorry. And they went in on me, man, so deep. And they said, man, do you understand what's come before you? And I'm like, no. What's come before me? And they proceeded to tell me what they had to do and how hard it was for men of color to get in these positions, to work hard, to achieve something in music, to achieve something in education, and what it took. And Mr. Albert used to always tell me, he says, man, you're going to have to dot your I's and cross your T's just to be equal. And he told me that. And he said, you're going to go through struggles in life that you don't understand yet, because our world still isn't ready. Again, this is still in the 90s, man. Our world is still getting ready. Wasn't no Barack Obama there, man, just so y'all know. We weren't there yet. And so he said, do you understand the struggle that it took for us to get here? The struggle that it took to be the mentors that we are, and the struggle that it takes every day that for us to maintain a level of excellence every day. Do you understand that? And I was like, okay, I get it. And he said, we got to where we at because we were able to pass things down from one person to the next. He said, and so Mr. Smith looked at me and he says, and now we're coming to you. And are you telling me that all these years of work, now we pass this to you and it dies?
Mm.
He says, are you telling me that after everything we've done, it's going to die when the time comes, when the baton is passed to you, the baton just falls on the ground after all those years? Are you telling me that right now? And after that, I was just like, and I looked at him and I was like, no, Mr. Smith, no. But I started getting tears in my eyes, man, because I was like, music is so much bigger, and what we do is so much bigger than what we all understand. And it was bigger than that. And I just I wasn't hearing it that way. And what they were essentially telling me is like, you got to be on this bandstand. It ain't about who you are on a bandstand, it's who you are off the bandstand first, then the bandstand. And that's where I got the build the person, the musician will come concept from, because it's like, you got to have your thing together off over here in order to get it together and be able to attempt to play or to be a part of education, whatever else. So when they told me that, man, I was like, all right. And so at that point, to answer your question, and I'd always told my mom that I never wanted to be a teacher. She was like, you're going to be a teacher. And I was like, no, I don't want to be no teacher. Kids is hard-headed. I know, because I did. They've had to deal with it. I was like, they don't want to listen. Kids don't like to listen. But as it progressed, and when he said that to me, I was like, education. And then they started putting me in leadership positions, leading the percussion area or go help this person. And then I fell in love with the idea of like somebody struggling with something, and then you actually can put a plan together to help them. And right. I loved it. I fell in love with that. And so after that, I was like, all right, when I graduated high school, I was just trying to figure out how I can contribute. And there was if you wanted to learn private percussion, there was no African-American men in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Wow.
None. And so what my point is that that says a lot of things without saying anything, So I then said, I'm going to be that person. And that's why I stayed, because I said, I am going to be that person to where if there's young men, young women, whatever, they have a positive African-American male that they can go to learn music and learn life. And that was my point. And that's what I was going to do. And some people said, you stayed in you did that in Ann Arbor. And I was like, that's the place you need to be, because you got to go where I felt like you need to go where the change needs to happen. That's where you have to be. So I was like, I went through this school system, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that my mom used to always talk to me about laying statistics. And she always taught me that you're going to be a part of a number no matter what happens. So you better figure out what side of the ledger you want to be on.
Right.
And so she used to tell me all the time, she said, statistics say that you were supposed to fail in life. Now it's up to you. She said, everything about your life, you grew up, you were underprivileged, poor, broken home. She says, everything that the statistics say is like, you were supposed to actually, the statistics say you were supposed to not be success, but everyone's going to be on one side of the ledger. You're going to have to figure out what number you just want to be a part of. And that was really helpful. And that's what we're in, like, man, mentorship, education, learning from people and helping people. That's got to be what it is. And so that really inspired me. But it started with Eric and then from Lewis Smith, and it just kind of built from there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That is really inspiring right there. You just, man. I want to take lessons with you. You don't think listen, I kind of move things around to where I think it's moving, but never think the things that I'm preaching is things that I made up. This was gifts given to me, man. I'm just passing it along. I'm the first to tell you, this is just gifts that have been given to me that, I'm just saying I'm taking it from one end and taking it to the next. And it's not like no fruitcake at Christmas that everybody's trying to regift and get rid of. It's like some serious stuff that you got to pass on to the next generation. But I'm the first to tell you that my approach to education, it comes from being inspired and being given this gift. It is not because I've looked and said, I am going to change or, change the gamut of education and I'm going to do this. It has never been that. And I'm the first to tell you, people say, well, how did you become a great teacher? I'm aspiring to be a great teacher still. I want to be someday. But I always say, because I've had great teachers. That's it. I just had, and I understand and I understand what it meant for me in my life. I don't know where I'd be without those people. So I'm just passing the gift on. And that's basically all it is, man. I will never be the one that says, man, yeah, man, like this whole concept of teaching, man, like that's my stuff, man. Cats is right. Stealing all my licks, man. No. Right, no. So that's what's up, man. So for like wisdom to pass down to future students, artists, people that are trying to get into just forming their artistry, where do you find time to practice, and what are some tips and tricks that you use in those practice sessions?
You gotta, man, that's tough, man. First of all, we live in a microwave society that even when we do practice, we want to have it done. We want to be like a master or something in the next 30 minutes. Like when I was growing up, you never see like learn to play the drums in 30 minutes. Like a DVD.
These 7 licks are the ones that are going to get you the gig.
Don't play these 10 licks because you will definitely get fired.
Yeah, it's just like, I call it like drive-through education. Like, yeah, man, swing while you wait. Like you just all of a sudden it's like, it's like, so the first thing, that I tell inspiring people is patience. Mm-hmm. Patience and process is the best gift that you can give yourself. Patience and process. So be patient with yourself. There's a saying that says, if you try to come in at 6, you'll never reach 10 because you don't understand 1 through 5. So you have to be patient. You have to have a process to the way you do your practicing. Are you doing your warm-ups properly? Do you have a specific goal, objective that you're trying to make in your practicing session? And then are you using, do you have application processes in your practicing to see how you're coming out, see how these things are working? And I'm a big proponent of practice room to the bandstand concept. So everything that I teach, I want to figure out a way to get it to the bandstand. I don't want you just don't give me assignments. Don't need that. I need to know Now, how are we going to get that to the stage?
Right.
That's where it's going to. Nobody called you for the gig. Hey man, I heard you can pay page 38 out your method book. It's we heard you practicing, man. Yeah, you got to come on to the gig. Like that's not going to happen. So, that kind of concept, and I think we are in a state of information overload right now. We're getting too much information. A lot of information is good, but it's information overload. So I would tell an aspiring student to not take in so much now. They need to kind of calm down and find time to get away from the internet, away from all of this, all of it. It's just too much. And the next thing is like, get away from that and put some time into being present in reality and really dig into your practice. So if you're going to use those outside sources, it's just to complement our reality. It's just to complement our reality. And that's how, so we've got it flipped around. It's like the internet and everything there is kind of turned in reality and then turned into our reality. And then our real life is kind of something that we just deal with briefly. And then because we got to get back over here to this virtual reality that we created. So
Right.
It stops from really practicing and focus. Like nobody can focus because you read one article, nowadays you read 3 sentences of the article and you move on to the next thing. It's like no focus, no patience. So I would tell students like patience and process, give that gift to yourself. Just take your time and schedule practicing in your day. I don't know if you guys heard him. He's a great guitarist, man. His name is Johnny Lawrence. Outstanding guitarist in our community. Wonderful musician. Well, he was running the Washington Community College jazz program, or the whole performing arts department. And I said, man, John, I know you're busy, man. Are you able to practice? He said, man, I practice 4 hours a day. I was like, how are you practicing 4 hours a day running a program? He broke it down. He says, I get up an hour before I need to get ready to go to work. I practice. Then I have a break at lunchtime between everything. I practice. I come home. When I come home, I practice. Then I have some dinner, relax a little bit, and I do another practice before bed. That's 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then those 4 hours are committed to particular things. So you wake up in the morning and just do all your warm-ups and stuff that you need to do. Right? Mm-hmm. That next minute, that next hour can be focused on whatever concept that you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to work on. If it's a transcription, whatever. The next hour can be done just analyzing the transcription. If you think you got it done, you're getting comfortable. That next hour would be playing or trying to apply that transcription with a play along track or something like that. With those, and I'm just giving you some examples. But my point is that there's a process to each hour. There's something you're trying to do, and so there's when you're patient, you have a process. You can see results. But I think if you're just going out there and you're just trying to do it as quick as you can, then you won't get anything out of the process, and it gets frustrating for young people because again, we live in a world that says you should be able to do this in 10 minutes, and we live in a world that actually teaches young people that everything is about how much of a prodigy you are at everything. Right. So a student cannot just be on the soccer team or the basketball team or whatever, or in band or in school. That's not enough nowadays. Now you have to be a prodigy. It's like you can't just be in band. You have to be first chair. You can't just play on a sport. You have to start, and you have to be like the best player on the team. Yeah. So everybody's gearing towards that, and they're not getting the experience of learning the sport or learning the art form. Because it's just about whatever we got to do to be the best and to do it as quick as you can. That's what it's about. So young people are losing the experience of education because of that.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to the not being patient thing because you're like being surrounded by all these amazing musicians in Detroit. It's like, I'm going to try to do every single possible thing I can, It's like you go to one jam session one day, and then someone's just like, yeah, I've been practicing this. And I'm just like, oh, man, I can't believe I wasn't practicing that. And then you go to the next thing, and then someone's just like, oh, man, check out this check out this line. And she's like, oh my gosh, I got to go practice that too. So it's like, yeah, there's so many things, but then also like, obviously with that, it's like, there's so many jam sessions that you can go to during the week, but then with the internet being there and then seeing all that stuff, it's certainly a lot. So I really like that you mentioned the patience thing and the focus and the like allow the process to like take like allow the process to happen as opposed to like to rush it and make it happen, because like you said, otherwise it's not going to happen. But we want to move on to
No, it won't happen.
yeah,
Right.
we want to move on to things that you do like outside of music. Is there any like hobbies that you have or anything like that you like to do when you're not shedding or
Yeah, man.
family?
Okay, so first of all, I'll tell you, first hobby is my kids. I got like three. I have three children. One is 20, the other one will be 19 next week, and then my son is 16. All three of them are comedians, man. Like they're funny, so they're like, they're funny, and they all got their own humor too, man. Like my oldest daughter has got like the driest sense of humor. But the way she says stuff, man, like you gonna just crack up. She just got this. They all got this really good sense of humor parts about them. And you'll see. My son's a really great drummer, and you'll get to, he's already doing some things on the scene, and you guys will get to hear him soon. And he's another comedian, man. And he's got one of those people. He walks in the room, and as soon as he would always get in trouble in school because the teachers would say, if Matthew walked in and had a serious look on his face, we know we were going to have a productive class session. If he walked in and was smiling, it was over. It's like he said, if Matthew walks in like this, they said it is a done deal. The day is over. He's got such a personality, like everybody just like cues in on him. Mm-hmm. And my younger daughter's the same way. So like I just enjoying them, hanging out with them, but they're grown, so they don't like to hang out with their daddy too much. But when they will hang out with me, then I like hanging with them.
I understand.
You understand? They hang out, man. Don't do Alvin like that, man. Go hang out with him. That's a deep brother, man. Hang out with him, learn from him. So, but my other one, man, people don't know this one, but I am heavily into ATVs. So I ride four wheels. I ride four wheels.
That's awesome.
Why do I feel like I knew that? Like,
I do that. I haven't been able to ride as much as I'd like, obviously, but yeah, my best friend and I, we go up to, we generally go to Baldwin once or twice a year. We go ride the trails out there, and I have acres now, so I ride a lot on my own. When I can, ride on my own land, and so I'm really into doing like riding ATVs. I love being like outside and like just country, and so I love that kind of thing. And Rodney Whitaker has teased me a bunch of times on my country ways. Diego Rivera says I'm gonna show up to the gig with like some overalls on.
All right, y'all trying to swing?
Rodney said, he's like, don't make sense, man. He's like, man, how you gonna be a jazz drummer, man? You drive a pickup truck. How do you gonna he said, man, you drive a pickup truck, man. Like, how you gonna be a jazz, but nah, man. So like I enjoy like being like, that's my biggest thing. So I go do ATVs. Man, I absolutely, love hanging out with like friends and family. I'm big into sports. I think sports, what you learn from sports informs your music in so many ways. Boxing, I will say this, man, boxing, football, and basketball has really inspired the way that I teach music and think of music. Mm. There's just the science of boxing. The science of boxing is really something that's really inspired the way that I approach everything in terms of music with my students. Like my students have to every week bring in recorded tapes, just like you do in boxing, when you win or lose a fight, you got to study the fights, right? They do it in all sports, but boxing is like really gearing in on your technique and what did you do? Did you drop your right? Did you drop, what did you do? So my students actually have to make, and I call it fight tape with them. They got to make fight tape is what we call it. And they got to make recordings of their rehearsals of their rehearsals and their assignments every week. And we go over the recordings together. And then I'm looking and I'm like, all right, so you're not pointing your thumb there. That's why those rolls is messy. Oh, okay. Yep. I see it. And so that they're one of the biggest things to build your mental game is self-reflection. See, so you have to see it first before your teacher sees it for you to really get to start gaining wisdom.
Mm.
That's how. So self-reflection is a really strong way to build your wisdom. So you have to sit and look and listen to recordings of yourself, be it video or audio or both, and you have to watch it to understand what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that's been like a huge thing. So those outside things, hobbies, those things like really inform the way I approach music. And then usually we travel a lot though. So I like going off. We were in Roatan last year.
Wow.
So
okay.
Yeah, yep. So we like doing that kind of stuff. You would be surprised, man, if you came to my house, man, you would come over and I'd have like a fishing cap on and I'd be on my 0-turn lawnmower out there.
I can't.
I was going to ask if you have the ride symbol attached to the ATV, so when you're riding on the trails, you can swing too.
You're in the air. Ding, 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 ding. Boom.
It's like, but he said ride symbol with my ATV. I actually should try that. I make some money. And I could make some money doing that. Play some drums. But no, man, like it's just, the odd thing is, I'll tell you all this. The odd thing is that when I get out there at that point for that week or 7 days, I do not think about like music life at all. Mm. And I will take some sticks, like, man, I'm gonna take some sticks and do my rudiments every morning. Man, I don't touch them. But I come back with such a stronger mental approach or mental thought process to music that it's like whatever. Sometimes it's like I just get away from it for 7 days. Don't even touch the drumsticks. Don't touch nothing, and go out there and just experience some life. Like one of the things I love is when you go up to Baldwin, you meet people from everywhere, and you're just up there to have a good time. They don't, man, and you got different backgrounds. They're from a town, you from a town, different things, and you just sit. We have like these bonfires, and you just sit and talk to people. Mm. There's one guy, man. He was from I think he was from Nebraska or something like that, and he kept coming over, and he's like, man, he didn't understand. Like, he's like, can I just sit and talk to y'all? He was like, yeah, sit down, man. Is it cool? I said, yeah. To have a seat. Then we would talk. Then he like in the middle, you're like, man, I'll leave if y'all want me to leave, man. Like, it's cool, I understand. But we've been taught all of this division for so long that this know that we could just sit in a bonfire and guess what? We could just talk about life because at the end of the day, he was a father, I'm a father, my best friend's a father. He got a job, I got a job. We all have jobs. He's got a house, he has chores. Like we all live these same identical lives. And so I kind of go up there with the idea of just being open and like meeting people and talking to people because that's the fun part. And just and just being around somebody different and getting an open perspective of different things. And when you get back to the stage, you're a much more open person.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Get away from everything of how you think the music's supposed to be. You can really open yourself up a little bit more and say, well, let me try to figure out somebody else's approach and make somebody else's approach better. Especially playing the drums, you have to be able to do that. So I like to just go up there and get myself mentally fed a little bit and then come back to the stage. And I always feel like I'm listening better to people. I'm understanding where they want to go with the music. And I'm understanding that I can throw away everything. Like we all get like safety net of stuff that we can play. I call it our default settings. Like we can play this. And so that's when we feel safe. And I think that when we have that, we stop being good listeners. If we look at that, that's how we are with life. We have our opinions and we feel very safe in our opinions. So we stop listening to people.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So when we turn that off and we start to say, you know what, I'm going to listen to this person and I'm going to trust myself that I have the right responses. Mm-hmm. that's when you can really get into some stuff. I'm going to trust that I don't have to know or be able to, like, man, if it ain't this, I ain't playing it. You know, if we get out of 4-4, I'm out of here. I mean, it's like, it's not going to be, you know, seriously, it's like you can go through your life and start thinking about that. It's like, man, do I basically live my life so everyone hears only my beat? That's the way I'm thinking. And so am I listening, get to understand other people better? And so that's what that camp trip does for me every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year I come back and I'm like, all right, let me think about my colleagues. Let me think about my students. Let me think about everybody. Let me try to get on the vibe of where they're trying to get to. And let me see if I can help do that. Because in the midst of everything, we rely on our own opinions and our own perceptions all the time, and our ears shut down. And we're all victims of that.
Right.
Yeah,
we are.
We are all victims of that. We all do that. We just to get through, we got to rely on ourselves. And all of a sudden we stop listening. So I like to go there, and it just helps me shut down. And man, gigs after that, it just feels better to be on a stage at that point. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are my outdoor things. I used to play basketball a lot, y'all, until I got I'll just say this, until I got in an age where I knew I couldn't recover no more from falling. I used to play ball like 5 and 6 days a week, man. We used to hoop all the time, and hoop and lift weights. 2 things I can't recover from anymore. So now I'm into watching basketball and cornhole. That's about what I can. Cornhole. I was like, man, I could do this now. You throw the bag. I could do that. And I used to play before when my son was born. I used to play in a flag football. You guys don't know this, but I played flag football league a lot.
Okay.
So yeah, so I used to do all that stuff, but now it's just about, you know, things hurt now. So, you know, you just got. It hurt, man. Seriously, it hurts. Like, it's just like, you know, you go out and try to shoot some ball or something like that. I played some basketball with my son one time, man, and his friends, and they beat the life out of us, man. We couldn't believe it. We was having like a dads and sons game, and let's take it easy, spend some time with the young kids, man. We were out there working. We were serious, and those kids demolished us.
What's the score? Oh yeah, 50-12, 50-12. Okay.
You know, that's like the rite of passage, man. Like, I was going up for a shot, man, and my son jumped up and smacked it out of the Like, you can see after he, like, I'm sure it didn't happen, but in my mind at that point, like, he threw my shot out, and all of a sudden you can see his mustache start growing out. It was like that, like
just the hair pops up.
His hair started more interesting. He became a man, like, immediately. Like, he just tossed that shot out. It was like, that's it. So I was like, all right, man, let me just get in more of an advisory role now. Just get out the way.
Right. So we're gonna introduce you to this MDetroit staple that we have going. It's called Hip the Listener. And this is where we have you, the guest, hip the listeners to anything, whether it be music, art, events, movie, documentary, or whatever you want. So you were just hipping the listeners to something cool that you think is cool.
Okay, here's a record. A record I think everybody should listen to, and that's Cannonball Adderley live in San Francisco.
That's such a good record.
Sam Jones and Louis Hayes was swinging so hard on there, man.
It's such a good record.
Oh my goodness, they were swinging so hard, man. I was like, you got to, if you want to swing, you got to know that record. Mm-hmm. What else would you say? You said an art or something?
Yeah, like you could pick an art or event. You don't have to do all of them. It's just, you know, whatever you feel whatever you want to. Yeah,
anything.
Let me see. That's a good one. In terms of, I was just gonna say this: if you ever can travel overseas to a Caribbean in the Caribbean somewhere, go somewhere where it's just like it's just a whole bunch of people who just want to be in a community and hang out, and that's a beautiful thing to do, man. I've done that a bunch of times, and I love it. Absolutely love it. And here I was in Jamaica one time, and they yell at the young musicians just like they do here. But see, we would have never known that. So like this, we were on the beach. My wife and I, we were on the beach, and they came over, to say, we want to play some music for you. I was like, oh man, they gonna play some music. We on the beach. We got a live band. You can't beat this. I'm like, go. I was gonna pay him some money. Man, a young cat didn't shed or something, man, because it was like, hold on 1 minute. Man, the two of them took him in the corner, man, and yelled at him. They brought him. Okay, we're ready.
The kid came back.
Remember those? Yeah, you come back. He came back, man. I said, "Oh man," it's like, all right, let me check. So I think like any event, I would say this: any event in your community where you can go learn about another culture, go to it. Go to the African American Museum if you can, whatever, whatever is out there. Go learn about culture. We have a very rich community. And I think the only thing that's going to keep us moving is we got to go learn about each other.
Right.
We got to go learn, and we got to just, we had to keep learning about each other, man. And that's what I think is going to get us through. And that's going to combat us against some of the things where people have maybe not the best intentions for us. But I think if we were to be able to kind of bond together and say, you know what, whatever you say, I know that's not how my neighbor is because I know my neighbor.
Yeah.
Because, you can't say that about, that every person over here is violent because I just had the person that lives like down the street in the cul-de-sac over to my house.
Mm-hmm.
Can't tell me that. You can't say all these things about this culture because like we had a family from Pakistan in our old neighborhood, and they invited us for dinner, man. They're like, come over and have dinner with us.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the TV news to tell me about these people that live across the street from me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's wrong. I'm going to wait for somebody to tell me instead of go find it out for myself. So anytime that you can get to know people, I try to do this in my bands, and we're successful sometimes. In a pandemic, I don't really do it. But I ask everybody in the band sometimes to just like, hey, man, go shake a hand and go talk to somebody at a table when we get off the stage. Just go say hi. Mm-hmm. Find out where somebody's from. It's unreal about where people came from to come hear you play. Yeah, we're from Montana, man. We heard about this club and we came to check it out. Sit down with them for a minute and learn about Montana. Mm. Ask them, what's the scene like out there? It's like,
yeah. Right.
Do they all wear cowboy hats when they're playing?
Yeah, we all. Is there any?
Or are they just singing Purple Rain? I mean,
right, yeah. Look at that. So, that's what I'm saying. Is like we're gonna have to. So anything that you can do to learn more about culture, and I think that's the biggest thing that I can say. Other than that record, because right now that's my favorite record. That right now, but it's gonna. If you ask me next week, I'm gonna have a new favorite record. But right now, that's my favorite record.
So we're coming to a close. This is our last section. We call it the rapid fire questions, and these are just quick questions and hoping for quick answers.
I have ammunition first of all.
All right, get yourself ready. Top 3 tunes to play with the Sean Dobbins trio.
Oh, okay. Top 3 2. If there's somebody's playing with me,
yeah, in your trio. Yeah, your trio.
Okay. Oh, okay. I can do that one. 4 Brothers, The More I See You, and Monk's Dream.
Okay. What is in your current music rotation?
Spotify. I don't have. I have a right now. I'm checking out. I'm actually really into Johnny. So it's like Johnny Griffin right now. I'm really into Johnny Griffin, checking him out. There's these 2 Sean Jones records that no matter how far away I get from them, I just keep coming back to them. So definitely Sean Jones right now. And I am heavily I'm proud to say I'm heavily into Roy Haynes right now again. Like I'm heavily inspired by Roy Haynes right now. I think, so Roy Haynes is a huge one. So I think combination of those people combination of those people are in my playlist, like people I'm just rotating listening to a lot.
Yeah.
All right. Greens or macaroni and cheese?
You asking a black man that both, man.
Yeah.
No, you gotta pick though. You gotta pick.
Hold on. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest, man. If you go ask me that question, I gotta ask you the right question to make that determination. Ask that. This is asked at all meals. Who made the macaroni and cheese?
Your mom.
Okay, that's cool. Who made the greens?
Your grandma.
Grandma. All right, I might go to greens on that one.
Okay.
Those two foods, you got those are two things. Like the macaroni and cheese, greens, and potato salad. We don't eat it until we know who made it. So that's just.
So let me even throw this out here. And let's say you got it from Motor City. Which one would you choose?
Where?
Motor City.
Like just somewhere in Detroit?
Motor City Soul Food.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Greens.
Okay.
Green. That's fair. Greens.
All right. Urban Transport or Modern Jazz Messengers?
Wait a minute. Whoa. In terms of what?
Which one would you rather play with?
Right.
Who would I rather play with?
Well, not like rather play with, but like, what would you rather play with?
Shoot, man. That's a tough one. Urban Transport was like the jazz version of the boy band back when we were playing that, man. I mean, we were like along with like Legacy, we were a little after Legacy Quintet with Ali and all those guys. Mm-hmm. But Urban Transport, man, that's a tough one. I am not who I am without Urban Transport, man. With my brothers Yosef and Dean and Vince and oh man, that's a tough one. But the modern jazz messengers was that's a tough one. If you ask me now, it's probably modern jazz messengers because I have control over the tempos now. It's my band, so I don't have to play fast. We can medium bounce all night if I want to.
Right.
Back, Urban Transport days, Vince was calling the racks out, so that would have been. You know what, man? Those were two. The modern jazz message is still going, but Urban Transport is such an important part of my life that I don't think I could only maybe 1A that one because that was such an important part of my life. I don't know if I'd have the Messengers without have been in Urban Transport. That's a tough one for me because that was a crucial part of my life, man. That was so important. I learned so much from playing with those guys, man, and loved them, and still consider them brothers, man. And we had like a reunion concert a couple of years ago at the Detroit Jazz Festival, and I was laughing with them because I said, man, we're gonna come back like one of the old Motown groups and try to wear our uniforms that don't fit anymore. So we gonna look all like shirts be all man. We can't.
Right, and people are like they know they can't fit that.
They can't fit it. Back at the Cotton Club.
They need to take it. He need to take that jacket off.
We're laughing about that, but it was that concert was so important is because it was like playing our old music. It was like the mature men playing this music that when they were once boys playing. And now these mature men are playing this music, and how our lives have changed so much. The way we were approaching it was different. But man, Urban Transport was fire, man. To use a young person's term, that was fire. The concerts we were doing and stuff like that, it was just out cold, man. So but the Messengers was such an important. That's like completely important to me and the guys in the band, every people in the band. To say that I'm in a band right now that I've been started, and Marion Hayden is the bass player. Come on, man. What you gonna get? Come on, man.
Right?
It's like I got Marion Hayden in the band. It's like, come on, So, and then being able to have that rotation of the front line, man. We started off with Rob Pifo and Curtis Taylor in the band first. Then it moved to it then moved to Diego Rivera and Anthony Stanko.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
That was the front line. So that was like that was the front line. And, now it's kind of evolved again where Marcus Elliott's in the band and we're using Tim Blackman for our gigs now. So it's just and Mike Jellick was in that band for a long time and he's broadened. Now he's become a great leader in his own right, doing his own projects. And we had Corey. So Corey just moved away. So we're going to be auditioning piano players gigs. Yeah, Corey moved away to Iowa. So we're going to be auditioning piano players pretty soon. But man, those are two important. That was hard. That's two important bands. But if you want an answer, here's an answer. I make more money with the Messengers. I have 2 kids in college, man. So when I just need to pay my bills, it might be Messengers. Because I got these kids in college, man, it's no joke. So yeah. I got
right. Next rapid fire question: preferred method of listening to music.
Oh, preferred method listening to music. Listen to the overall first, and then dissect interactions.
Okay. Dirty Dog or Blue Llama?
That was okay because I didn't know where your previous question was going, bro. So okay.
Dirty Dog.
Pass. No.
It couldn't. The Blue Llama, the artistic and music director there is a long time friend of mine. He's a great bass player, and I've actually worked with his son. His son's a great up and coming tenor player, and I've been teaching his son for a long time. And so to know that like that club there's a jazz club in Ann Arbor close to where I grew up in is special. The Dirty Dog, that is like, so I have people there, and I actually known some of the staff, the staff there for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The Dirty Dog is like those people are like a complete family to me, man. Mm-hmm. Like those people are and not just, and it's not, to be honest with you guys, it's not just the people that the music director, their manager Willie Jones. Everybody is important people. Like the servers, the cooks, everybody. Gretchen Valade, Tom Robb, everybody are as important people. I love them all, and they're like family, and I feel that way. So that's a hard one to say. I probably can't answer it only because that's like those people are keeping our communities, and we have to put Cliff Bells in that mix too, and we have to put Burt's in. We have to put Baker's in the mix. We have to put Carytown Concert Hall in the mix. We have to put all these clubs in the mix that they're making, man, like they're making our community. We live in a destination place. Like when people are booking their tours, they want to come out here. Mm-hmm. I mean, like those are world-renowned clubs, man. You don't go everywhere and find that.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So, so I'm going to say love them both because they're doing so much. I love them both. I appreciate them both. They're like, that's like two separate sides of my family, man. I love them both.
Yeah. I got you. And then now Max Roach or Art Blakey?
Oh. Okay, that's easy. That's actually easy. I love Max. He taught us how to solo. He taught us how to think musically. He taught us about civil rights. Actually, my master's thesis was on Max Roach for my master's degree. It was on the Freedom Now suite. That was my master's thesis. But I grew up and I literally thought that I was going to be Art Blakey, and Art Blakey is the person that made me want to play this. So I love Max is beautiful, and there's just things about Max that you just cannot touch, and he's done so much for the music. But in that situation, I have to go with Blakey. There's no question on that for me. because Blakey hit me here when I first heard him play. Max, I loved his playing, but Blakey hit the core, man, when I heard him. So I have to, and anybody who knows me, look, man, my nickname growing up was Little Artlet.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Parker's son called me Little Artlet, and it stuck for a little while. They would call me Little Artlet. I mean, literally, I was coming to the gig, if it called for it or not. Bass playing all of Blakey's licks, man. I didn't care. I'm playing it. It's Blakey. It has to be right somehow. Make it work.
Make it work right.
Yeah.
I'm playing some Blakey, so no, so I had to go with Blakey on that one.
All right. So this is the end of the podcast. Is there anything else that you want to leave with the audience?
I want to tell the audience to support this podcast. I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing. You guys are taking a situation when we're seeing a lot of darkness, and you're bringing some light. And I think it's important. And I think that you guys are taking the time to make a positive contribution to a very challenging situation. And I think you guys should both be applauded for what you're doing and for who you guys are as people and musicians and budding mentors in our community, because now it's becoming your turn to kind of bring up the next generation and help them. You guys don't know that yet, but your turn is coming, and you guys doing this right now. You've taught. There's a high school person that's going to see this, middle school person that is going to inspire them to start doing podcasts and learning about people. And you guys are changing lives in ways that you just don't know. You're not going to know it yet until people come to you and say, man, I checked your podcast out. I was in the 10th grade and during the pandemic, and I checked it out, and it got me thinking, and I created something that I felt was positive, that I could contribute to this, and it's changing some lives out there. So I want people to support the things that you're doing. That's my last thing. Support it, because it means so much, and that's going to live.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You guys are building wealth, and this wealth that you're building is going to go through generations. So I applaud you guys and thank you for what you're doing, because it means a lot. Seriously.
Thank you. And we appreciate you agreeing to be on the podcast. It was a very deep honor
No, it's mine. Now let's just play some music together, man, and we'll be all
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Amazing.
And then we gotta go ATV riding. Ride.
Man, I'll take you riding, man. It's fun. I'll take you out there, man. You'll have a ball. If I got Rodney to go ride around one time. He rode in a circle and came back, but he was like, come on, Rodney, you gotta try it one time. He went around one time. He's like, this is very relaxing, and he got off. I said, why don't you ride? He said, man, I got a career, man. I play the bass. I can't get hurt.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, man. So we'll hit the ATV someday, man.
All right. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, and we just want to say, just once again, thank you for being on the MDetroit podcast.
Where can people find you?
Yeah.
SeanDobbinsMusic.com, or you can always hit me up on Facebook. I'm going to be playing this Saturday, tomorrow, the 14th, at the Blue Llama Jazz Club, and I'm going to be playing with the great Cliff Monier and Marion Hayden. And
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been mixing it around, but this time I want to play. We're going to be playing some of the music of Vince Guaraldi and just playing some different. We'll get a little bit of Ahmad Jamal in there. We'll get a little bit of some more modern R&B things in there. I think we're gonna have a very eclectic show that people can really like sink their teeth in and just enjoy. Be challenged a little bit, have a little bit of suspense, and also have some relaxation with the music. So I think they'll have a good time.
And what time would this start?
Starts at 7:00.
All right, sounds great.
And can people find your schedule of where you're playing on your website and on your Facebook?
Yeah, they should be able to start catching it starting tomorrow. It's just getting rebooted up right now to redo it. And, and we're living in a pandemic, man. So it's not going to be like reading War and Peace, man. It's going to be pretty.
Just for the future,
Right.
Want to make sure people know where you're playing.
At this point, man. So
Blue Llama, 7 p.m.
Man, so I'm trying to keep it. I want to keep playing, but I'm trying to keep it as mild as I don't want to keep. Increased exposure is also a problem too, just for people who don't know that. So
right.
You can do things, but be careful about how much you're doing too. So
yep. Cool. Well, thank you so much again, and we look forward to seeing you keep playing around in the community and doing your thing. And have a great rest of your day.
Right.
Yeah, see you guys soon.
Wow, that was such a magnificent conversation.
Be sure to like, share, and subscribe on all our social media, and we hope to see you soon.